Hi everyone, my name's Christine and you're watching this video because you're probably tuning in after watching my week in the life of a creative director video. This video is a follow-up to share the answers to some of your questions. So in this video, I share all about how I became a creative director, the realities of what it really is like to be a creative director, and if you are interested in becoming a creative director. And before I dive into it, don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you can see more videos like this, but let's get into it. So you may imagine that a creative director just shows up at photo shoots with a mood board and tells everyone what to do. And that's just one part of being a creative director. A creative director helps create the final piece. And a creative director is typically in charge of budgets, managing people, and is actually, as a creative director, you might find it surprising as a creative director, you're actually doing less creative work, but you're delegating the creative work. So you're hiring the designers, the editors, the photographers, videographers. And in my case, when I work with, smaller brands, I'm actually also the creative director and photographer. So I'm also doing the shoots, producing the shot lists and all that. Okay, and so now that I've defined what a creative director actually does, I'm going to share with you kind of my journey of becoming a creative director. We started back in 2009. I was still in college and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and so I actually took a sewing class and I got really inspired to then create my fashion brand. I took the sewing class and kind of just winged it, and I started making clothing and jewelry. I actually ended up doing some LA fashion shows. I was invited to feature my clothing, which was very exciting at the time. I was like 20 years old. So I actually called myself a creative director / fashion designer, though at the time I didn't know what that really meant, what a creative director does, but I was already doing everything that a creative director does. I was hiring photographers, working with them to shoot my campaigns. I was hiring the talent. I was thinking of what the concept of a campaign would be, or the lookbook, and then I would create the mood board, the shot list. So that's just one component of creative direction, where I learned all the creative skills, graphic design, strategy, producing photo shoots, and that was kind of the foundation of how I became a creative director. Other questions that I've gotten was, what did I study to become a creative director? And so what I actually studied in college is public health policy. So I originally wanted to work for a nonprofit health organization to help heal communities. And it's so interesting that instead of working directly in like the public health sector, I ended up working with wellness brands, wellness practitioners specifically, who helps their clients, their communities to help with their health. I've found that a lot of people in the creative field will study something different than they actually intended to go into. So before I did creative direction, I did photography. So I went to Otis, which is one of the better art schools in Los Angeles, and they had some weekend photography classes. So I took that, and it was like a couple $100 compared to thousands of dollars if I were to take it as like a whole, 4-year program. And so I would just take classes on the side on the weekends. Sometimes there's night classes. If you just type in continuing education classes, like you literally find so many resources within your area. And you can use that as a supplement to, say, going to art school. Because for me, at least my background, my parents would have rather that I went to get a traditional, useful degree. But we all know, for the ones who actually have a degree that has nothing to do with what their career is, you understand that, the degree helps. Obviously, I needed a degree to actually get that job at the photo agency because they were looking for somebody with a bachelor's degree. So it does help. But what was really helpful in that specific public health degree was I learned psychology. It helps in the realm of advertising and understanding how certain things impact others and how they operate. And so a big part of creative direction is you're gonna be working with a lot of different personalities. So you have to be someone that actually can navigate different personalities working together. I've had shoots where not everyone got along, but In general, most of the people that I hire on for a shoot gets along very well, but there's gonna be, I've done probably literally 1,000 shoots to this point, because I was doing shoots like almost every single week. So up to this point, I've done over 1,000 photo shoots, and there's gonna be some shoots and some projects where, the people don't mesh very well. So you need to understand how to navigate that. After I closed that business and pivoted my career, I ended up working for a photo agency. While I was doing my fashion brand, on the side I always had a part-time job as a bookkeeper, and then I ended up with a role as a finance manager at a photo agency. And from there, I learned the art of visual storytelling, which is such an important piece to creative direction. So besides learning how to, capture photos to sell clothes and jewelry, I learned the intention and the skills behind visual storytelling. Because a big part of creative direction is telling stories, making people feel a certain way or want to take action, like purchasing a product or a service. And even though I was just doing accounting, bookkeeping, full time, what I did that I feel like not a lot of people do when they have jobs, they're not really seeing what they can learn from it. They're just kind of like, we all have jobs that we probably don't like. And so whether you're just starting out as a junior graphic designer or intern, or whether you're already a senior graphic designer or an art director, learn the business side of the brand or industry that you're in. That is like the number one tip. Because what I was doing is, while I was in that photo agency at doing bookkeeping, accounting, obviously that's more like the financial business side of things, I was trying to understand how the photographers were booking their jobs, their clients. I was trying to understand, how they're telling stories, how they're kind of licensing campaigns, how that worked. And so I was able to translate that, because after working for about 3 years as a photo agency, once I built up my portfolio, I started taking classes, I had the skill sets to become a photographer, then I became a freelance photographer and a creative consultant. I basically took on as many photo jobs and consulting jobs that I can take. Shooting Coachella parties, I was shooting brand activations, and it was great. Living in LA at the time, I booked a lot of projects just by reaching out and also just meeting new people who they either were working at agencies and they had clients that needed photography, or I would, know small businesses, whether it's a jewelry brand or a clothing brand, that I would shoot their brand campaigns and lookbooks for. So those are some of the ways that I've kind of helped elevate my portfolio, which is an important aspect to being a creative director. You need to have a portfolio of your work to be able to showcase, and so people will actually hire you. In 2017, I actually was a co-founder of a co-working and wellness startup. And so I would get people together, and every month we would come together to work on our brand, our businesses. A lot of the people that we would attract to these Venice women's wellness co-working are healers, practitioners, people who were starting their businesses, people who already had businesses, they're self-employed or they're freelancers. So it's just a great way for people to come together. Okay, so I'm 15 hours into editing this video, and I totally forgot to mention the key point of my career journey that led me to become a creative director was actually after the wellness startup. I met so many wellness brands and business owners that needed branding, photography, content creation services. And so because I had the experience of photography, owning a business prior, and also creative consulting, so everything from social media, marketing, all of the things that you would need for a business, I started Nature and Intent. So Nature and Intent is a conscious creative studio where I've worked with over 50 wellness brands and to elevate their brand through branding, photography, content creation, design. This was the point of the journey where I went from a creative freelancer to basically a creative agency, a studio owner, and became a creative director. So now let's get back to the rest of the video. I think I just wanted to share that, there is a lot more to what a creative director does. And if there's anything that you're gonna take away from this very long video about how I became a creative director, the pros and cons, what I studied, and what you can take away from this is that really utilize what you have now to build upon what it is that you're pursuing. You can apply that to anything in life. And so when I was a fashion designer, I was able to take those skills to then become a photographer and creative consultant. While I was working my job, my 9 to 6 p.m. job, I was taking classes to then help me become a photographer. When I had those photography and creative consulting skill sets, that helped me become a startup co-founder, and that also helped me create a creative studio. And now that I'm working in-house as a creative director, I was able to apply all those skill sets from all those years to do what I do. And it's never gonna be a straightforward process, so definitely learn from mentors. I think that's really great. And if you don't have access to one, you could find inspiration. YouTube is great, and I think I'm actually somebody who wish I knew a creative director to look up to see what they did to get to where they were and how they navigated the hard parts of being a creative director. So I hope you like this video. If you have any other questions, please leave them in the comment. Don't forget to like and subscribe. My goal this year is to actually get up to 1,000 subscribers. So please, it helps me out. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.